World Report on NewsX World. Breaking this hour, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he has watched live as American special forces captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro during what he described as a daring raid. Speaking to local media, Trump has said the operation unfolded like a television show, highlighting what he called the speed and intensity of the mission. Trump has said U.S. forces captured Maduro from a heavily fortified location, describing it as a fortress. He has also confirmed that no American troops were killed during the mission. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Sutherland, for joining us. Good to see you. Now,
Thank you, Asuma.
Thank you. Now, looking at this, what's your reaction? What can you share with us on this unfolding situation?
I think the important thing is, like you and I often say, is that we don't have a chance to go through a lot of history, but we need to look at what's happened recently. And then, of course, if you go back to the Chavez days, and then you look at how Maduro rose up through the ranks. The unfortunate thing is that one of the richest countries in South America, that Venezuela used to be, has gone into a complete economic hellhole due to the fact that people, in my humble opinion, believe in communism. And the Americans are deeply concerned, understandably, as many other people around the world, that Venezuela has turned into a narco state. And if you look at pictures, you go through history, and you look at the amount of drug running that has gone on from that country. These are all deep concerns. And just finally, there was an election last year. Someone stood in for the lady Machado, who was the opposition leader and who then was banned from running. And a gentleman with the surname of Urichia, if I have that pronunciation right. If I've got it wrong, I apologize. Then stood in last minute as a candidate. And in the end, Maduro was deciding the fact that he actually won. The gentleman that ran against him has then fled and is then in Spain for his own safety. So there's a long history of manipulating votes, manipulating elections, whether it's suddenly at the last minute, if you're voting in a certain area, there's suddenly energy, the electricity is a blackout, and all this kind of manipulation, and then through courts, and then through a body saying, well, we're overseeing the vote and we think it's fine. And just finally, Asuma, as we've often said, within the words of Stalin, is not who votes that's important, it's who actually counts the votes. Asuma.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that, Mr. Sutherland. Please stay with us as we take another breaking news. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that described the latest operation in Venezuela as a clear message that the United States will not be pushed around. He has stressed that the operation clearly indicates Washington's resolve to confront threats and enforce its policies in the region. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Surinder Singh Lali. He's an international affairs expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much. There seems to be a network issue over here, so I would like to go back to welcoming our guest, Mr. Mark Sutherland, to our panel. Thank you, Mr. Sutherland, for waiting with us and staying with us. Now, looking at this operation, can you say that this has succeeded in pushing US's interest in Venezuela or South America? Or can we say it's back to square one, as we know that although Venezuelan leader has been taken away from Venezuela, we now know that the vice president who was under Maduro is going to be leading the country. So what changed?
The key thing is to think of the Venezuelan people and what they have been under for many years. If we look at the report from the Times of Israel, I think the vice president even of Venezuela, I thought there's a report that's saying that she may be in Russia. The fact is that if the last thing the Americans want to really get involved mass it even more in regard to regime change, and would then now I could see the fact that they're just step back and allow various things to take its course in regard to the Venezuelan people's reaction. But we have to go through many years of suppression, of all the gerrymandering within the voting system, and actually say that people are economically, they are suffering, and they have been abused under this system, under this sort of socialist utopia, and they wish to be completely free of that. Also, just quickly to say that Maduro has been warned by the American authorities and others for some time, and as I say about this particular election, that it looks like he had lost, but then said, "I have won." It's very reminiscent of a lot of history that we've seen, particularly in the 20th century. So, Asuma, like with what's happening in Iran, we have to just see what events are going to unfold on the ground in respect to the people that actually live within those countries. Asuma.
Thank you for sharing that and highlighting that. Now we have another breaking news coming in. Protesters have gathered in Venezuela's capital city of Caracas after the government asked people to demonstrate for President Nicolas Maduro's release. This comes as Venezuela has declared a national emergency citing serious military aggression. Tensions now remain high as the situation continues to unfold across the capital. Now we welcome Mr. Surinder Singh Lali. He's an international affairs expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Mr. Lali, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, looking at the situation in Venezuela, now that there's a vacuum, of leadership and also the government, who do you think will be taking leadership in Venezuela? Although early reports suggest it could be the vice president, but what's your take?
Thank you, Zuma. It's such a pleasure and honor for me to be here. And I want to take this from the top. I was hearing Mark, and while he did park his point, but I want to park my point next to Mark. And I want to open this up a little bit. I don't think it's as simple as Maduro being on the wrong side. I mean, I'm not going to hold a brief from Maduro, and nor did we hold a brief from Saddam Hussein. But the issue is that this is far more complicated than just putting Maduro on trial and his record and his alliance with the drug lords. I mean, but this is more to do with part of American interference in different parts of the world, which have, they've done over 70 post the Second World War, where, they intervene, and that intervention has a much hidden side to it. And Venezuela is the largest supplier of oil. That ain't no rocket science. And on top of that, I think this is more to do with getting back to China, because China has been controlling the rare earth, and Caribbean being America's backyard. So America wants to let China know, 80% of the Venezuelan oil goes to China. So this is far more than just, democracy and the principles that the United States of America tends to, speak from rooftops. I'll give you a small example. I mean, Rubio just said that we're going to try Maduro on American soil. It's so ironical that there is so much going on in the United States, as with the Epstein files. But you wouldn't try the American president, the sitting American president. Pam Bondi's been conveniently quiet. Pat Cash has been, Cash Patel has been conveniently quiet, although they said we'll look into the Epstein files. I mean, it was passed unanimously in the both houses and both bipartisan. But you don't want to try the American president, but you want to try another president from another country, pick him up in a surgical strike, bring him. I'll just make one last point that, Iraq was a case study in which America said that, Colin Powell said that, it has weapons of mass destruction, never found. Link with September 11, never found. Bin Laden, never found. All of them are found in Pakistan, but the Pakistani, army chief gets an invite to the White House, while the democratically elected president of India has been suffering 50% of the tariffs. So this is far more than just talking about democracy and the principles of morality. So it's not as simple as that. And now getting back to your question, is like America did in Bangladesh, they got a UNIS. So they're probably going to have a Maria Machado, because America wants life dictatorships, because then they can have single window clearances, so that they don't have to go through the democracy and the opposition and the questioning and the answering. So the deep state of America is involved in this, and they've simply done another part of extension. This is probably the 71st intervention they've gone into another country, and to pick up their they did it with Panama also in 89, 90, how they picked him up and he's still in American jail, and Donald Trump chooses to forgive another drug lord from another country who has 47 years of prison sentence, but then he wants to go another few thousand miles and pick somebody up and try him in his own country and land. So I'm not too sure if it's that simple. This is part of a proxy war between the United States and China. And Americans' financial supremacy might be there, but American hegemony is up for revision. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that analysis. Now we have another breaking news. Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello has urged citizens to remain calm, saying that the population is organized and prepared after U.S. airstrikes targeted the country overnight. Let's listen in.
Luego de haber hecho una evaluación de los daños causados por el ataque criminal, el ataque terrorista contra nuestro pueblo, contra el suelo patrio, contra las instalaciones eléctricas, contra la revolución bolivariana y contra aquellos que inclusive no tienen nada que ver con la revolución bolivariana. Es un ataque contra Venezuela, contra la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Y desde aquí, desde este hermoso lugar, llamo a la calma a nuestro pueblo. Confíen en el liderazgo, confíen en la dirigencia del alto mando político, militar, para la situación que estamos atravesando. Mucha calma, que nadie caiga en el desespero, que nadie caiga en facilitarle las cosas al enemigo invasor.
Moreover, the Interior Minister has appealed for the international community and organizations to acknowledge the attack, while also expressing confidence that the nation will ultimately prevail. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Mr. Mark Sutherland. Thank you very much, Mr. Sutherland, for waiting patiently and staying with us. Now, our respectable other guest, Mr. Lali, has shared that this is a rivalry war, or this is a game of rivalry between U.S. and China over their influence in South America. What's your take on that? And yes, what's your take on that?
Your esteemed guest raises some very, very interesting history in regard to people like Dulles that used to run the CIA and various coups that have gone around the world at times. That's happened. That cannot be denied. But coming right up to date with this history, we have got, and as your esteemed guest raised, this is also about American hegemony within the world, but it's also about looking back over the last 4 years of the previous administration under Biden and how many millions of people were then let into America, and also who was coming into America and who's then threatening inside America right now. Narco-terrorism is real, as books by Rachel Ehrenheld has written about this in 1992 and for years after. This is actually real. We have to then look at terrorist organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, and how they then raise money, because this is drug running. They are all then immersed. If you have an ideology that you wish to get rid of America, if you wish to get rid of the American Constitution, then you are going to then collaborate and seek a way to do that. So that is, in my humble opinion, also what is then playing out right now. This is communism. But the number one thing is to ask the people of Venezuela, the citizens of Venezuela, whether they would like to be free, and instead of feeling that their votes don't count, and whether they are being threatened. That is also what is playing out as well within the region. But as we could look at all the way back to 1954, we could look back in regard to certain aspects of the CIA and how they've behaved in the past. Yeah, we can put that definitely on the table as well. But Venezuela needs to be in a position where it will start pumping oil, start generating revenue for itself, and start allowing capitalism to thrive, and start allowing people to run their own businesses, and increase the quality of their life. That is also what is on the table here. But just quickly, Suma, the amount of drugs that go into America, the amount of damage it does to American society in the South, and also they have a huge problem in the North that they have to address, fentanyl, etc. They have many enemies, and those enemies are then taking advantage. So this is where we are at, and this also has ramifications around the world. Asuma.
Yes, we will be eyeing that. Thank you very much for highlighting that. We have another breaking news. On this developing news, Venezuela has now vowed to resist any foreign troop presence. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino has said in a government television broadcast. His statement came after U.S. President Donald Trump claimed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had been captured and was being removed from the country. Padrino has added that the U.S. attack struck civilian areas early Saturday morning. Venezuela is now compiling information on casualties, including the dead and injured. Let's listen in.
Buenos días, pueblo heroico de Venezuela, soldados y soldadas de la patria, hijos e hijas de Bolívar. La Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana informa al mundo entero que en la madrugada de hoy, 3 de enero, el pueblo venezolano ha sido objeto de la más criminal agresión militar por parte del gobierno de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica. Hasta el momento, la barbarie de las fuerzas invasoras que han profanado nuestro suelo sagrado en las localidades de Fuerte Tiuna, Caracas, los estados Miranda, Aragua y La Guaira, llegando a impactar con sus misiles y cohetes disparados desde sus helicópteros de combate en urbanismos de población civil, para la cual estamos ya levantando la información referente a heridos y muertos. Frente a este ataque ruin y cobarde que amenaza la paz y estabilidad de la región, elevamos la más contundente denuncia ante la comunidad internacional y todos los organismos multilaterales para que se condene al gobierno norteamericano por la flagrante violación de la Carta de las Naciones Unidas y del derecho internacional. La Venezuela libre, independiente y soberana rechaza con toda la fuerza de su historia libertaria la presencia de estas tropas extranjeras que solo han dejado a su paso muerte, dolor y destrucción.
Now we welcome back our guest, Mr. Lally. For this, Mr. Lally, thank you for staying with us till now. Now, looking at this, this news again, do you think that Maduro had any idea that this was coming in, including his defense ministers who are raising alarm now, and all people surrounding him or his government? Do you think that is why he suddenly changed his, there was a shift in his tone towards US on 1st of January this year? Do you think he saw it coming?
Azuma, I don't think there is a match between the American might and Venezuela. So I think that's a question Maduro can answer best if he saw it coming. I mean, the whole world saw it coming. The way Americans were attacking the speedboats and killed over 100 people. So So obviously they were trying to put psychological pressure on him. So it had to come. The only thing was when. But, I think Mark made some fantastic points that, I don't think many countries in the world, in fact, most countries are perfect democracies. And I'm not too sure if America has the right to bypass the United Nations and even their own Congress and go attack other countries and tell them how they ought to be behaving. I think we should leave it to the wisdom of the Venezuelan people or countries that the United States has attacked. One. Number two, Mark made a fantastic point about drugs. I fully agree. But it's very unfortunate that most of the cocaine that comes in America, it comes from Colombia and not Venezuela. Most of the fentanyl that comes, which Mark said, into America is from China. It's from Chinese material that through Mexico through come. So I don't know. I'm not too sure that the entire world needs to pay a price for Donald J. Trump still in election mode and cursing, the sloppy Biden or the stupid Biden or the following, the dumb Biden, and still he's in election mode. So why should the world pay a price only because there is one unilateral power? And unfortunately, we've been as an Indian, we've been slapped with 50% tariffs for buying oil, and China has not. China is buying still so much of oil. So the duality perplexes me. It confuses me. It amazes me how just because this is a unipolar world, and the United States can go to any country, cook up a case through their CIA or through their think tanks or through their lobbies. And the state of Israel, what Israel does is the worst kept secret in the world. I don't think America is the most powerful country in the world. I'm sorry. I don't know if Mark is a Jewish individual, but it's the state of Israel that controls the United States of America, be it attacking Iraq or even Iran right now. And the Epstein files. So I think Donald Trump has his back against the wall. Why do I say that? His health is struggling. The tariffs have, come on his face because it's hitting inflation. And on top of that, the Epstein files. 33,000 documents.
Mr. Lally, yes.
95,000 pictures. So the larger point I'm trying to say is that despite oil and getting back to China for rare earth, because China controls 80% of the rare earth, and America said, all right, if this is what you do, then you buy 80% of the Venezuelan oil. So this is where we're going to, choke your neck because this is America's backyard, the Caribbean. So this is all about a proxy war. And unfortunately, the entire world, look at what America has done from whatever country Mark comes from. He looks European to me. The way he's thrown all the Europeans under the bus. Now, each one of them is depending for themselves and has to spend money more on defense and infrastructure, education, or social health care. So
yes,
this is a big turmoil that the world has gotten into. The mercantilist Donald Trump has run the entire world under the bus, and all he does is gets up in the morning and he wants his 2 cents of attention. And I don't think he understands global issues. we're the largest democracy, and he's been thrown us under the bus. I don't think he can prosper. America can prosper in the Indo-Pacific without India, because we're the fourth largest economy and the largest population. So this is a big mess that the world is getting into, and only because the American state wants to sell their arms and ammunition, So this is a lot more than just America going to Venezuela.
Thank you.
It's just a red herring.
Thank you for laying it out all there for us. Thank you. We have another breaking news. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina has issued a strong warning to Iran and Cuba following the U.S. military operation in Venezuela. Speaking to Axios, Graham has described the capture of President Nicolas Maduro as a sign that there is a new sheriff in town. He has said that the operation has revived the Monroe Doctrine and sent a clear message to other regional powers. Graham has added that if he were the leader of Iran, he would be concerned about U.S. intentions. When asked about the possibility of further action in Venezuela, Graham has emphasized that all options remain on the table. Now, I would like to bring in Mr. Mark Sutherland to our panel. Thank you very much, Mr. Sutherland, for staying with us. As Mr. Lally was just emphasizing about how dangerous of a situation this is right now, and we just saw Mr. Graham in the breaking news that he has said that this Monroe Doctrine is back or all this? What's your take? And also, now that how do you think U.S. will justify? President Trump will justify his actions in the upcoming press conference?
It's going to be rather interesting because everyone, which they're already doing, is piling in and throwing into international law. So that has to be said, and also it all depends how you then interpret that. When you mentioned Lindsey Graham in my presence, I'm trying not to laugh. He's not someone that I would actually take really any sort of lesson from, as I class him as a complete lunatic neocon. But that's my personal humble opinion. The fact is this, and your other esteemed guest quite rightly raised there's a very interesting piece of history, which is the overthrow of Guatemala in 1954, when you refer to a United Fruit Company, who then sought to do that under Mr. Dulles, CIA, because they were concerned about land, how land grabs, how in reforming land acquisition within Guatemala. There is history of this, of course, flexing muscles, but we are in a different time, because at the end of the day, Russia, China want a multipolar world, and they are looking to do that. We only have to look at BRICS. We only have to look at the Shanghai conference that you and I spoke about a number of months ago. This is all that is at play. Sometimes it's not as simple as some people think. But the key is this: let's think of the people of Venezuela. When you voted, when the person that you wanted to vote is not allowed to run because you ban them, you then falsify votes. You then put in systems to actually benefit you, e.g., in Monduro's case. This isn't right whatsoever. When you're actually taking money off the people of Venezuela, we have to look at all of this in regard to the oppression that there's been. And I am no communist, as much as I am living here in the UK, and some people believe in pushing socialism and now tyranny. No, thank you. So we are going to wait and see how this plays out. But as much as some people would deny this, Maduro has been warned. People from the Trump administration for a number of months have been warning in regard to America's backyard. And just remember, when filmmakers like J.J. Carroll are looking at making films documenting anywhere between 11 to 50 million people that may have come over the American border under the Biden administration, and I completely accept that between 11 and 50 is rather a big gap. This has gone on with all, as was acknowledged, all the other drugs, all the other fentanyls, and all the other terrorists that have then been let into America, where there were no checks on whatsoever. That is what all of this is also about. Now, of course, all the accusations are gonna come in regard to, as we said, international law. Already France has turned around and condemned this, which is rather interesting. We need far more time to go through a heck of a lot of history that is important to say, and the rights and wrongs of how geopolitically countries then conduct themselves. But to say that this doctrine is back is rather interesting. It also has a long history where America's turning around and saying, well, we will flex our muscles, we will interfere where we feel it benefits us. And as your esteemed guest has raised as well, the whole history of Iraq, which is extremely sad, where were the weapons of mass destruction?